Why bother with empty shelves at retail stores, waiting 3 days for a break to fill, or driving across town to find out your hobby shop closed at 4 when you always have a card show in your pocket? With Loop, you can instantly buy cards, packs, boxes, or into auctions with the click of a button, and do it all while chatting with some of the best personalities and the best community in the hobby. Download the Loop app now on iOS or Android. Loop, a card show in your pocket.
What's up? What's up? Fish Stripes Live with your host, not just producer, but host, Eli Sussman, presented by Loop, L-O-U-P-E, for all your card buying and selling needs. Check out their app. Check out their store in Wynwood. It's a beautiful shop. It was one of the only places I went to when I made my trip to Miami. Well worth your time. It's awesome. A very intimate crew here tonight, but of course you recognize our guys. Isaac Azoot, Noah Berger, Fish Stripes regulars. How are we doing this evening, fellas?
Fantastic. Looking forward to a real Cy Young matchup here tonight with Corbin Burns and Pablo Lopez, both sporting sub-2 earned run averages. In Pablo's case, a 1 flat ERA. So really excited about the 97th anniversary as well.
And Noah, as people know, he's a big Panthers fan as well. Game 6 tonight. How
If
optimistic are you?
I have to wear this shirt because if I don't, they lose, apparently. Although no matter what I wear, the Marlins keep losing. I'm excited for the matchup tonight. I'm not going to be able to see the highlights until tomorrow night, of course. But I really hope Pablo can bounce back from. I say bounce back, but giving up a run for him is outside of the norm for him. So there's not really much to bounce back from.
He actually pitched 8 shutout innings his last start.
The one before it was the one where he gave up runs.
Yes,
I think that's right. Yeah.
It's been a long week. It's gonna be an interesting series.
Well, before we get to that, let's rewind just a little bit. I don't want to go through the whole previous series against the Diamondbacks because the first couple of games were kind of the same old shit that have been afflicting the Marlins for a while now. Just focusing on the bright spot, the series finale, one of the weirder games we've seen, winning by 8 runs, but it was the most competitive 8-run game you'll ever get because it was tied going into the 9th inning. I was curious about what if anything actually stands out about that final game to you, whether it was the way that Sandy pitched, whether it was a particular player that was involved in that comeback in the 9th inning. Is there anything positive that we could take away from that one particular win after losing 9 and 10 before that?
It's like with Sandy, I think is what stood out because he's just been almost like a different pitcher. I'm not saying worse. It was different. He usually is just wiping guys away with the fastball, the hard stuff. And his changeup was phenomenal in that start on Wednesday. And he was using that as his getaway pitch. And he's always tends to use it, but an extreme amount. He threw actually more changeups than fastballs, and that started on Wednesday. So that stood out to me, and just Jazz having that swing, that bat speed, and that exit velocity. I don't think that ball was 10 feet off the ground, and that went over the wall in left center field. So those are the 2 things that stood out to me. I think you mentioned this on the Fish Stripes account. Avi Garcia's home runs always tend to be garbage time home runs, both of them so far. And, Jazz has come up in a lot of clutch situations as well. But the Sandy stuff has really stood out. Like a phenomenal start by the Miami's Ace, and he played the role of stopper correctly.
Right. With Jazz, I looked it up. 6 home runs, only one of them in what would you call a low leverage situation. All the other ones come either within the game being a couple of runs, and of course a lot of them just in the later innings as well, like including this one. This one was a great example of it because even though they had the lead, a 1-run lead in the 9th inning for this team doesn't mean anything because you can almost assume that they're going to give it back if that was all they had. What about you, Noah, from that past game? What stuck out for you?
So, Okert uncharacteristically giving up a couple runs to blow that save. Of course, it led the way for Bass to get one batter out and then record a win, which was great for my fantasy team. But the bats came alive in the 9th. I didn't see much of it because I was at the Panthers game, but it from watching the highlights of Jazz's swing, I have no idea how he got that ball out of the ballpark. Of course, Avi Garcia has to have his garbage time home run. So it looks good. I hope they can ride that wave of offense into the next series. Sandy was Sandy.
Right.
Sandy. Yeah,
there was of course one clear negative from the final game. As Daniel popped in and now he popped out and he screwed up my formatting. So I'm not going to put it back there. Daniel Rodriguez is doing our credentialed coverage tonight at the ballpark, and we'll see if he could check in. Of course, not just the series against the Brewers, but the beginning of their 25th anniversary celebration of the 1997 team. But from that last game, one unfortunate thing that carried over to today is Joey Wendell. He hurt his hamstring, aggravated it. It was bothering him earlier in the month. And so he is now officially on the injured list for a Marlins team that we've noted recently, at least I've noted, how they've been kind of fortunate from a durability standpoint. But he's one of their first key players all year that is now going to miss what seems to be a pretty significant amount of time. I mean, on the bright side, Brian Anderson comes back as a corresponding move after missing almost a week of games due to the COVID IL. But what do we think the ripple effects are of Wendell going out after playing so well this year, after playing third base, shortstop, even a little second base? He was off to a great start to the season, wasn't he, Isaac?
Yeah, it hurts. This one's going to hurt a lot, more than I think Marlins fans are going to expect. This is the first time the Marlins have had to use the IL, except, Dylan Floro obviously starting the beginning of the year. So Marlins have been very fortunate that up to this point, they had, no major injuries. But yes, Wendell, that left-handed bat, now that there's only two left-handed bats in the Marlins lineup every day in Jesus and Jazz. That's a big bat that just cannot play against right-handed pitchers anymore, and it's going to hurt the team both offensively and defensively. But like Eli mentioned, right side, Brian Anderson is going to be back. He is starting tonight, and he's going to get a hell of a lot of playing time over the next 10 to 15 days. We'll see how long this injury lingers for Wendell.
I think it also compounded with the fact that John Birdie is also down with COVID, and so your left side of the infield is you're looking kind of thin on that side. So Joey Wendell going down now, it's like a confluence of that's not good. You're going to see Brian Anderson a lot playing third base. Hopefully when John Birdie eventually rejoins the club, he will get back in there and continue his insane start to the season. But there's going to be a bit of a ripple effect if Joey Wendell is down for a decent amount of time.
No,
he's a difference maker.
Well, let's see if we could get through to Daniel now on the field for, I guess that's Brewers batting practice going on right now. Yeah,
we need to go to an area where it's a little less sound, but here we have the Brewers batting practice. Lorenzo Cain is up right now. As anyone can expect, Christian Yelich is the most popular player from the Brewers here down in Miami. And it looks like a great matchup. We talked to Craig Counsell a little bit. I got an opportunity to talk to him. He was talking to the media. He says he's excited coming back. He's really looking forward to talking to the rest of the members of the 97 team. I've not seen any members yet pre-game so far during batting practice. I'm pretty sure they might calm down later in the week, doing something with the Marlins members. But right now we're seeing Brewers batting practice, and it looks good. The Brewers look like a really good team. It's going to be a little difficult for Miami. We did mention Joey Wendell going down to IL for 10 days, Brian Anderson back up. And I think that's going to be a little bit of a problem for Miami. Joey Wendell has easily been one of the best players for them. But I think these are a very important series for Miami. They have to win at least 2 games. And I think it all starts tonight, going up against one of the better pitchers in the NL. And Pablo has to bring his A game.
Yeah, did Donnie tip his hand a little bit in terms of how long he thinks Wendell might be out, whether they think it's more than just a minimum situation?
They said it was a right hamstring strain. Yeah. So I believe around 10 days will probably be, and I think Donnie's expecting around 10 days. I don't think it's going to go linger more, unless maybe something happens to him in the rehabilitation. But I would say 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, until maybe we see Wendell again. But I think it might just be a little strain, a little precaution that they have with Joey Wendell. They don't want him to go down a little bit later in the season, maybe if they're in contention for a spot or whatnot. but I think they're going to be a little bit cautious with Joey Wendell at the moment.
Right. Well, I'm going to call BS on that. I think it's going to be a lot longer than 10 days. I hope it's right. That'd be great. I'm not going to like overrule him, but I did pull up this. This is a great tool. We're going to good. Daniel muted himself. This from Baseball Prospectus. They have this injured list ledger where it shows you it came out, I think, just last year or maybe the year before, showing how long people miss with particular injuries. So if you just search for a hamstring strain, these are some examples from this year about several players, old friend Donovan Solano, Rafael Marchand, guys who have missed the entire year to this point due to their hamstring strains, and others. Jonathan India is the one that I think is really relevant here, where he came back pretty quickly from his initially, and then he aggravated it and went back on there. So the reigning National League Rookie of the Year kind of having a lost season to this point due to the same type of injury, the same type of situation. A couple examples of guys like Altuve, where he misses less than 2 weeks, and ever since he's been fine and he's been playing well. So that's kind of the optimistic version of it. And I think I remember that Jazz, his initial injury last year towards the end of April, that was a hammy issue, and he was only gone for about 2.5 weeks. That seems to be that'd be optimistic. If everything goes well, they shut you down for a week, you spend another week ramping up, and then you play like a super brief rehab assignment and then come back. I think either way, he's out for this entire homestands for the next few series. And so that will be taking some adjustments and getting used to. Now that Alex, we haven't heard from Alex yet, popped in fashionably late, but any reaction in particular to Joey Wendell going out? We kind of saw this coming with the fact that he had the hammy issue, had to leave last game early. How concerned are you about how this impacts the team? Gives more playing time, I guess, to Eric Gonzalez, AAA wonder kid.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. If only they would call up the other guy that I like. Anyways, yeah, I think it's concerning for sure. Like mentioned, Eli. The question of the length. You hear hamstring, you kind of think the worst, honestly. This is also not the youngest player. He's not an old man, but you know, he's a. Can you guys hear me, by the way?
You're very, very robotic.
I'll plug in the internet for next time you guys come in because I'm on Wi-Fi. But yeah, to answer this question, yeah, it's concerning for sure. Hamstring, don't like it. It's an older player, as we said, but wish for the best. I'm glad Brian Anderson is back at least. Very short stint for him in Jupiter, right? He was rehabbing there last night, I think, right?
Yeah,
and he's back. So obviously that was a pretty quick return for him, which is good. Probably dealing with COVID, I believe, or COVID-related symptoms, I guess I should say, to be correct. So yeah, good to see him back, for sure. And yeah, it's probably going to be mostly him at third base with Wendell out, you would think, right? Yeah. And then maybe throw in some Eric Gonzalez, I guess. But yeah, concerning, but hopefully it's not as serious as it could be.
You know, the one thing. Oh, go ahead, Eli.
I was just saying, what you're watching is complete video of Brian Anderson's rehab assignment. Every pitch that was thrown to him, all he did is just stand at the plate and take balls from really bad low-A pitchers. It was one game. I think he swung at 3 pitches. He struck out once. He walked a couple times. He hit that weak grounder, and that was it. He didn't even play the whole game. Played 7 innings. Just to make sure. As I was mentioning, I think in our chat privately, this was just an issue of him being stuck in a hotel room for a few days, stuck on a plane, 2 separate flights to Arizona, and then from Arizona back home. Just because of that, getting him some exercise, basically making sure that he could see actual professional pitching after not doing so the last few days. So the shortest rehab assignment in history, tied for it at least, just 1 game. And that was
I guess I can ask you, Eli, another question, because I'm sure you were watching that game and taking the video that you just showed us, of course. But another guy played in that game as a rehabber that nobody thinks about anymore. I know
this one.
I think of him too. He didn't have a great game, though.
Like, I know all the memes on Twitter about him being a child and everything, but it's Jose Devers, and he's been one of
he has a child.
the I guess higher end prospects, not top tier prospect, but he's been a pretty good prospect for the Marlins as long as he's been here, and he's still very young. So, I mean, if he gets back to full strength, he's been out for a while with this shoulder issue, I think that he has since last year. I have my own opinions about why he got injured, but that's okay. Why not this guy instead of this AAA, not fodder, these AAA players, these replacement players? When he's ready, is he on the major league team, do you think, or are they going to keep doing what they're doing right now?
I can answer first. I don't think it's immediate. I think he would go to AAA. I think it's basically a week from now. They probably move him up to AAA. And then, I mean, if something really wild happens on the roster, if there's a couple more infield injuries, then it might be a situation like last year where by necessity he goes in and fills in. Otherwise, I think AAA is appropriate for him. Unfortunately, one of our favorites from last year, Bryson Brigman, he's the shortstop spot in AAA has been wide open for him this year so far, and he hasn't produced. So I think plenty of regular at bats that Devers could take there. In the meantime, I'm still relatively high on him if he's healthy, but considering all his time away, I don't think an immediate reinforcement. Definitely somebody that we should see up at some point before the end of the year, but not an immediate answer to the Wendell situation.
Yeah, like Eli said, later on in the year, he could provide some sort of competition for that infield depth, especially if there's an injury, especially if Wendell, just never does fully, heal that hammy. That's someone else that should probably be playing over Miguel Rojas sometimes, later in the year, that is it's a situation here. And I was going to say that about Brian Anderson being back, and he's going to be playing third base, for the next 2 weeks, at least every single day, every single day. If he plays really well, you're going to start Wendell. Maybe Brian Anderson sort of, solidifies that starting role again with Wendell being out. So a lot of things that could happen with Wendell being out, and it could come at the cost of Miguel Rojas's starts against right-handed pitchers anyway, because we all know how Brian Anderson feasts on righties versus lefties, those reverse splits.
Right. There is some
did a little more than Brian Anderson had to play last night.
Well, I think it was a really soft infield hit. It was kind of the same.
Right, but still.
Yeah, Devers, it was an infield hit. I like Devers. I've always liked the swing. I can hit. He just has, virtually no power, but he's a good fielder. He's fast. Good hit.
Yeah.
Great hit tool, actually. So I
2018 guy was going to win the friggin' batting title in single A, advanced at the time. It was with Jupiter. And he was hitting like over 300. He made the All-Star game. And then I think that at that particular moment, he was out of that All-Star game because of injury. And now his injuries have kind of compounded. So it's been unfortunate for his health. But if he's healthy, he's interesting for sure. But I think you're right, Eli. I think it's probably AAA at first. And then later in the year, don't forget about the name. People forget about him. Don't.
I do want to point out, because Richard Blyer and John Birdie are also on the injured list without a specified reason due to COVID, almost surely. And we don't have any substantial updates on them. So that makes you a little worried about exactly when their ETA to come back is, whether they don't seem to be with the team today yet. And the longer that they miss, the more likely it is that they'll need a rehab assignment of some amount of time. Birdie was playing amazing. We covered that. He was on a per plate appearance basis. He was as good as anybody this year. Best case scenario. Blyer wasn't off to a good start, but yet he has a very long track record. He's about as reliable historically as any reliever in this pen. So that's something to keep an eye on. Those are two guys that you would expect them back in the near future, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be as clean a situation as BA's. And those are two other spots that now other people got to step up and do something.
Yeah, and I was under the impression that Brian Anderson probably, I think the Marlins played yesterday, he probably doesn't go down and have a rehab game. I don't know, but I think with Birdie, it's a little bit of a longer undisclosed rehab or undisclosed IL situation. So unfortunately, if he still hasn't flown home, he's probably going to need at least 2 games down in Jupiter, just like Blyer. He'll need 1 appearance, maybe Blyer, 2 games of at-bats for Birdie. So they're going to be without those 2 guys for a little bit.
Yeah. What other little nuggets do we have to cover on this team flying home? And that means more time for Tommy Nance. Tommy Nance made his debut over the road trip.
Good. He looked good, huh?
He did. So we'll see if he can stick around. I guess while we have Alex now stopping in, we should at least acknowledge, we bring up Max Meyer on every single show. And he's coming off his worst appearance of the year, easily. One of his worst overall outings as a pro because of the high standard that he has set for himself. 5 innings, 6 runs, 3 home runs. Is there anything that we should look into this? The fact that he kind of got humbled a bit after really cruising throughout the first month of the season.
Yeah, every starter struggles. We've seen Sandy Alcantara struggle. We've seen Pablo Lopez struggle, and those guys are major leaguers already. This guy, it's not going to be lights out every time. Even though it looked like it was going to be that way for a little while, it's not going to be fantastic every single time. I can tell you in that the start that you're talking about is the last one that he had. Changeup was pretty much non-existent in that start, Eli. It sucks to say that, but he didn't have the pitch. It just wasn't throwing it. He was behind in counts a lot. Control was off. It was just a bad day. I don't think there's anything honestly to read into it. Velocity was still there. He was still up to 97. So, everything together, I think he's fine. I think it was just a bad start. I mean, that sounds pretty simple to say, but baseball players have bad starts. And yes, this man is a human being. So I think he's fine. Don't think there's too much to read into it, but yeah, he'll go again next week and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's funny. Right before I put that text in the group chat saying like, he might have some trouble in the major leagues, and that's before he even gave up a run.
Right. Yeah.
Right after that, he had a tough time putting away hitters.
Deep counts. I think you mentioned it. I think you mentioned deep counts. Like just couldn't put guys away. And early in counts he was okay. Like he was throwing strike one, strike two with his first 2-3 pitches, but he was having trouble really ending at bats and putting guys away and throwing too many pitches. And like I said, I don't think he had a changeup at all in that start.
No, he threw like maybe 3 or 4, and one of them was right over the plate. And luckily, major leaguers would hit it out, but this guy.
Yeah. So no changeup, and you're not commanding and controlling as best as you have. To me, that's when he's going to be in trouble. I mean, it's probably not going to be too often, but yeah, not a good recipe for him in that start. But one start, move on.
In the meantime, Eliezer Hernandez, as we'll get to in a little bit, he's starting on Sunday. People were hoping that they would make that transition this weekend. Craig Mish was the conductor of that train to make this transition at this particular time, and now not happening. And now you just wonder how much they overreact to that one performance, or just use it, having it maybe calm down people that were really fervent about pushing for this change, how that goes about it. I mean, personally, I think we're still on a week by week, start by start watch for that change. I think it could happen pretty soon. They're not going to.
You've been mentioning this on Twitter and we've been discussing it with multiple people on Twitter and we've talked about it last show. You said you don't think it's that big of a deal. You've said previously, and I agreed with you, that you think that, with the deadline of, the first deadline passed, you don't think the Super 2 deadline is a big deal. Now that this is apparently we're not going to see him this week at least, and probably not next week, I would say. Do you think that extra year of arbitration for Max, do you think that's coming into play at all, or not really?
I hope not.
I think it's silly for it to do that, especially now under the new CBA, which has this bonus pool for pre-arb players. Max is like the exact target for that. If you have a top prospect that you think is going to perform really well, they're going to make money anyway, more than they would ordinarily during those first couple of years. So pushing off the payday doesn't really work the same way that it used to. Again, this only applies if he actually sticks in the majors throughout that period to accumulate service time. The perfect reminder today came from the Mariners in Jared Kelenic, who was a consensus amazing prospect, and they gave him an everyday job immediately out of the Mariners last year and into this year. But his performance was just unexpectedly terrible, and they had to send him down today. I think for the second time. They already sent him down once in the middle of last year, and now this year, giving him another shot, but the results still aren't there, despite his prospect pedigree and despite his tools. You just never really know. Sometimes it takes care of itself, unfortunately, when you worry about this service time games, is sometimes those guys, as talented as they are, it's an inexact science as to whether they'll transition. I have my fingers crossed that the Marlins aren't being swayed by that factor, feeling like they know more than other people do, because they've been proven wrong before. I mean, all you can do is look back at the last few years and all the other pretty good, talented, toolsy players that they've had that have not produced when they've been put in the majors.
That case is so interesting. Sorry, Noah. That case is so interesting. We mentioned it when the Marlins played the Mariners with Julio, who got it started and got it going against the Marlins, and I think is still doing pretty well. And Kelenic, who didn't and has not. So, yeah, I mean, like, it's just polar opposite handling of prospects, where the Marlins aren't calling guys up, even if they are proven. I think Max has proven that he's ready. And then the Mariners, who have these stud prospects, and they're just, bam, they're in major, like, like barely any time at the upper minors. So it's interesting to me to see the complete polar opposite handling of prospects. So what way works and what way doesn't? I guess it's a player by player basis, as you said, Eli, but it's definitely interesting to see how different organizations go about that.
Maybe somewhere in the middle would behoove them, because, the Mariners, those guys haven't really produced, although Julio is hitting a little bit better. And for the Marlins, not one of their offensive prospects, besides maybe Jesus Sanchez and Jazz, have really come up. And those two guys were developed earlier in their careers by other teams. So it really hasn't worked out for either side. So maybe somewhere in the middle is the right way.
The last thing I'll say, we were talking about the extra year of control with Super 2 status with Max Meyer, right? Like, so much can happen within those 4 years. You could trade the guy, you can extend the guy if you think he's the real deal, and then none of that matters. So I think I agree with you, Eli, that it's not like it shouldn't be at least like a tipping point. It's the Super 2 thing. But that's the only thing I can really point to and say, okay, well, why isn't this guy here yet? Because he's ready, and the organization knows he's ready. If you ask Kim Ang, she'd probably say the changeup as an excuse. But the guy's ready to pitch in the major leagues, so they're just wasting time, and it's unfortunate, but hopefully soon.
One more thing about Max Meyer. Did he this last outing? I don't have the stats pulled up. Did he like throw a full like a full pitch count? Did he get his pitch count up to where he normally has it?
I believe it was 90 pitches off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So then the theory that I had in my head is gone. I was thinking like maybe you bump it, you no, with the off day, maybe move pitchers up. You bump Eliezer, move Luzardo up a day, and then have Max Meyer.
Oh, you know what? Unfortunately, Noah,
game.
It's time for break. We need to stop
whatever.
Here. On the other side,
I said it was dumb.
On the other side, of course, we're going into this entire series against the Brewers, the celebration of the 1997 World Series at Lone Depot Park. I don't know how we're going to fit all of that into half an hour, but we're going to find a way. So 30 seconds from Loop. Stick with us on the other side.
Why bother with empty shelves at retail stores, waiting 3 days for a break to fill, or driving across town to find out your hobby shop closed at 4 when you always have a card show in your pocket? With Loop, you can instantly buy cards, packs, boxes, or into auctions with the click of a button, and do it all while chatting with some of the best personalities and the best community in the hobby. Download the Loop app now on iOS or Android. Loop, a card show in your pocket.
Happy anniversary. 25 years since the first World Series title in franchise history. And they are going to be celebrating it at Lone Depot Park this weekend, starting today. Although most of this stuff really kicks up tomorrow on Saturday. As Daniel, reporting from the scene, says he can't really find any of the alumni hanging around, aside from maybe Craig Counsell. But this is, of course, they arranged it in a way that Counsell is back in town managing the Brewers. And overall, you have almost half of the roster in terms of players, manager Jim Wheeland, and everybody assembled, a reunion, not a total. So how do we feel about exactly the names that they were able to bring back here and some of the key names that they're missing from the celebration?
Yeah, the thing that stood out to me was I know he's busy. I know he's coaching at FIU, but Jeff, it's not like he's the head coach of the Vanderbilt Commodores.
I didn't even realize he's not on that list.
He's Jeff Conine. I was surprised that he didn't, call in sick for the 25-year anniversary of the Marlins' first World Series. So I'm a little disappointed that he's not there, but some amazing names on there. I'm really excited to see Jim Leland, living legend, Livan Hernandez, the World Series MVP, Edgar Renteria, Gary Sheffield, Charles Johnson, some big names. Cliff Floyd, I saw him at the Heat game the other day. So all these guys, hopefully we'll get to see them. I'll be there tomorrow as a fan. So I'm really happy they did this.
Hey, you know what I just noticed? If you look here at Renteria, they misspelled his name. I just noticed
that.
Yep,
they did.
I did instead of just now. There should be a second E in there.
Renteria.
Renteria. Jeez.
Oh, boy. That's not a good look.
Kurish, if you're watching, what are you doing?
Let me double check and see if they corrected it on the website. But this is from the email that they sent out.
Yeah. I'm sure Daniel DeVivo is cursing about that right now.
Yeah. Boy, vey. That does seem to be the only.
They fixed it. Okay. So I'll cut them some slack. I'll fix them some slack on the website. They spelled it correctly. Renteria. With the E. Anyway, as you said, missing Jeff Conine out of town coaching FIU baseball. Kevin Brown. I don't know what Kevin Brown's up to. I don't know what Al Leiter's up to. Of course, those guys only spent a couple seasons with the team. And that's kind of the problem throughout Marlins history when you want players to embrace their time with the team, is that a lot of them spent more time with other teams and in some cases had big accomplishments with other teams. So whether they feel this is a priority for them, I don't know. I'd be curious to get inside, the process of recruiting people to come back and what some of those excuses were for those that didn't show up for this.
Yeah, I didn't see.
What do you think Bobby Bo is doing? Except for getting paid by the Mets, though.
Getting paid by the Mets.
No, I was right. I don't see Devon White in that. Devon White in that list, and I also didn't see Moises Alou, I think, or is he there? I don't.
That's another absence that we're missing.
And Al Leiter too. No, that's
yes, he's
another. So there's some bigger
It's kind
names.
of hard to get away from the MLB Network studios, apparently.
And was Luis Castillo on that team as well?
He was not. I mean, he was technically on the roster during the regular season, but he didn't play in the postseason. If I recall
He's
correctly.
someone that could have come. They should have just thrown him the invite as well. But yeah, for the most part, a great group of guys that are coming back to Lone Depot this weekend.
That conversation comes up a lot with people trying to say, who are the only players to win 2 World Series with the Marlins? And technically, even though Castillo was in the organization and on the team during the regular season, because he wasn't really contributing during the playoffs.
Well, there are 2. There are 2.
Did he get a ring?
Yeah, of course he got a ring. He played during the regular season.
Then he was part of both teams.
Well, he means
That's your benchmark. That's the benchmark.
He means on both World Series rosters, I'm pretty sure. But there were 2. There's Jeff Conine and there's one other guy. And he's not at this celebration either. So I don't know.
That's right. It was one of the random relievers.
Rick Helling. Rick Helling is the other guy that was on both.
That's a name.
Rick Helling. That's funny. And Greg Zahn's not here this weekend either. He'd back up catcher. Oh, well.
That's another absence. So
no Pat Rapp either. Would like to see Pat Rapp. He was a good reliever. Anyway.
It's really half the team that's here, which means half the team that isn't here. So that's a fair point.
Like I said, it'd be interesting to know.
I want the ball boy.
Of course, while I'm on here, I have to plug the podcast that I did with a couple really distinguished Marlins fans who were season ticket holders during the 1997 season. You can find this on Fish Stripes, wherever you get your podcasts. It doesn't have to say the names right there, but I think one of them was named Martin Berger.
Yeah, some guy named Martin. I've never really heard of him. It's my father.
It's Noah's dad. Noah did a great job hooking me up with him, and he had some great stories. Yes, Gary Sheffield, he's the one that thankfully is here for this celebration. Probably the biggest name that did show up on the player side. But if people want to check out that podcast, I think it's kind of evergreen, some of the memories of that season from being season ticket holders. So thanks to both those guys that hopped on the pod with me on pretty short notice. But yeah, a lot of the big day, I guess, this weekend is going to be Saturday because that's the big pregame ceremony and on the field, which apparently they're not doing today, and also giving away the replica rings, 8,000 to kids 14 and younger, not to adults. That needs to be a reminder to people that if they're going there, most people watching this are older than 14. So if you're going there and trying to just get away with one,
I'm going to get Kevin to get me one. It'll be all right.
They think that there's going to be more than 8,000 not only fans but kids there.
Just don't tell them that. They bring the extras to the press box.
They're gonna have some extra rings for sure. Unfortunately, I'll be there. I'm going to be going for Beer Fest prior to the game. When's the celebrity softball game though? I'm very excited to see that.
That is Sunday, and I will be there for that.
I think Tommy's going to be on the call, and I think that's pretty cool. I know the Yankees do like sort of something similar to that every year.
Old Timers
game. So this would be a lot of fun.
Right. So people that have info on that on Sunday, that starts at 11:30.
11:45.
Right around 11:45, whatever. I think
Gates open 11:30. I've been staring at it for like a week.
Okay. Well, I think the broadcast on Valley Sports Florida actually starts at 11:30, and then I guess the game does start at 11:45. And I assume that most of those names that we saw in there are going to play. I don't know if Jim Leland is going to play. That would be something. Most of the former players will. In fact, Kevin has a prediction regarding that we'll get to at the end of the show regarding the softball game, not just the series, but the softball game.
Can I go ahead? Sorry.
Well, that'll be broadcast for people to see. I guess they're going to play 3 innings or so, something like that. But they did one of those also. I guess they called it like a home run derby in 2018 when it was the 25th anniversary of the franchise. It was something similar where it was before Sunday game and they broadcasted it as well. I remember some highlights from that.
So it's awesome that they're doing this. It really is. I'm glad that they at least are recognizing it. I'm glad that the banners are up. Jeff was there for that. Isaac, I know that's not enough for you, but he's actually not in Florida right now. They're playing UAB in Alabama. So he's not here.
Could have just not traveled for that one.
Well, he does have a job.
He has a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure
he was here. He did the banners. Come on.
Living paycheck to paycheck, I'm sure. Come on.
I'm sure. Anyways, slight nitpick because I have to always
I
nitpick.
knew it. I knew there was a big butt coming.
What? Maybe some of you guys know, because from a marketing standpoint, I don't get it.
Uh-oh.
Why no throwback uniforms?
Yeah, facts.
Yeah, it bothers me.
Someone asked Craig Mish that, and he said he's going to get to the bottom of it. I think there is a reason. I have no idea what it could be. But they did it in 2018.
Is it a legal reason? Like, can they not wear the F logo? Like, it's not on the banners. It's not on the uniform. It's not on that patch. It's not in anything that Eli has
Alex,
shown on
I think this is something you mentioned it. They have to like submit uniforms a couple like seasons in advance, or like a certain amount of time in advance. Like for like these City Connect uniforms, they've been ready for a while, and they've been like given to the league a while before.
I don't know. No, they also added the 16 on the patch right in the middle of the year.
Patches are different. They're putting a patch on the hat. Although I think there should be one on the uniform, they're putting a patch on the hat. Patches are different.
Okay, so if that's the case, Noah, they wore the teal pinstripe jerseys in the past. So why can't they just wear them again?
But it's not. It was not in there. I guess it's not in the team's official rotation of uniforms.
But it wasn't in 2018 either.
Yeah, it was just one.
It was planned ahead of time enough to be in the rotation. This is all speculation, but I think one of you mentioned that to me. I think.
Not me.
I don't know. I would be interested to know why. Maybe Craig. Maybe we'll learn from Craig. But that's a mistake. It really is. So, anyways.
All they have is those patches. If you haven't seen them, you have to zoom in a lot to see the patch that says 25.
Cool.
Yeah,
they do look good. They do look good. Yeah.
It looks good.
Anthony Bass posted a really good picture of the hat.
Yeah.
No, it does. It does. It looks fine. I'm not against how it looks on the current uniform, but yeah. Come on.
Do better. No plans to wear throwback uniforms at any point this year. The last time they wore it was, I guess, 2019. Yeah, during that throwback weekend. And I was able to get a lot of good gifts of that, and that was a good time. Just one weekend of wearing this.
It looked so awesome. Like, we had Real Muto wearing it. Like, that's what I remember most, because there's like a whole photo shoot of him wearing that uniform. Like, it looked awesome. I mean, like, with the teal helmets and everything, like, that's how a lot of us grew up watching Marlins baseball. That's how I grew up watching Marlins baseball. So to see it come back for one series would be nice, especially on this occasion, but they decided against it. So I guess we'll probably learn why. There's probably a why behind it, as Noah was saying. So I'm sure we'll learn why.
Right. Well, one other special aspect of this weekend is the roof is open. This is actually today. This is real. This is happening.
Daniel Rodriguez just sent a video of the roof opening right now. It was
so
closed for batting practice, and they're opening it right now.
Incredible. It is the first time, obviously, this year that they've had the roof open. And from what I saw, only twice last year, and both pretty early in the year. Ever since then, it's been more than one full year since they last played under an open roof. We, of course, here on Fish Stripes Live, you got the scoop from John Morales. He went through the particular conditions that they need in order to open up the roof, and why those would be really hard to find any days. So we were not confident that there would be any of these days necessarily with the roof open. But we have Daniel checking in from the stadium itself about how does it look under the sunny sky. Ooh, let's see.
Wow, it looks beautiful, man. Oh, they need to do this for half the home games. I'm sorry.
What do the banners look like in the sun?
Oh God, probably invisible.
No, that's pretty visible, by the way.
Yeah, that does look pretty good.
Nice. So that's live from the press box. Daniel Rodriguez showing you around.
There's nobody there.
You can see dozens of people in the stands.
Dozens of. Oh, look, there's Craig.
Hey, it's Craig.
Tell Craig I say hi, Daniel.
So showing us around here with the roof open. No guarantees that it'll be open tomorrow or any other day they do it.
It's expected to rain both tomorrow and Sunday. Yeah. So probably
the weather was pretty sketchy earlier in the day. So it was really, they must have someone really good on top of that.
Exactly.
The weather. Haha. So that was good to see.
So really good playing under the sun. As I said, only 2 games last year that had these, and there might not be a whole lot of them beyond this. Better late than never. We have John Rodriguez stopping in from All Marlins.
From a teal room wearing teal clothes.
Really quick, Eli, what was the Marlins' record in those 2 games?
They lost both of them. They played 2 games under open skies at home last year and 0-2. But John, while we have you on, we just wanted your take on the open roof. And I know that you yourself you were a little concerned about whether this would be the right day for it, given the weather in the area earlier in the day. But this is a long time coming to finally have these conditions back again.
Hey man, I'm looking outside right now. Things have definitely cleared out since the last time that I posted that. Hopefully, Little Havana isn't getting incoming
Yeah,
rain.
well,
but...
I am very close to the ballpark, and there's not a cloud in the sky.
Oh, perfect. So I think it's something just going northbound or something.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
man.
looking right outside, right into downtown Miami, and there's not a cloud in the sky. So well done by John Morales and the Marlins.
Can I just mention really quick, since John showed up wearing all the teal, which looks amazing, by the way. We were just talking about why no throwback uniforms, which I'm still stuck on. By the way, Eli, you talked about that series in 2019 against Arizona. They won 2 of 3 in the teal uniforms. Just saying.
Well, wear blue, never lose.
We're teal. You are for real, I guess.
I hate you.
That actually was kind of good.
I'm just using that Bob Costas quote. You know, he was very much a user of that. Man, the roof, I think it's amazing, you know, that they have it open. This is a match made in heaven for Marlins fans, especially for the oldies that, you know, watch games at the old ballpark. The fact that there's no rain, I mean, it can't get much better than that. You're really taking it back to 97. So the fact that, you know, that's what's happening today. Wow. I mean, enjoy it while it lasts. I don't think we're going to have too many of these open roof games.
I asked Daniel Kurish about that, and I asked him, I was like, hey, so over under 3.5 games with the roof open, and he goes way under. I'm like, wow, shit. So
how can you go way under when the number is only 3.5?
Hey, his words.
It was under last year.
Yeah,
it was under last year. Yeah,
I
think that was him implying 0, but
last season,
you know what John said. You need a rain chance of what, like under 10%. When does that ever happen? Ever?
Not even now. Not even now.
Yeah, just how fickle it is. The last night it was pouring all around this area right here in Miami, downtown Brickell.
From what I've seen, from what I've read, it seems like they're disregarding some of their criteria because it's the anniversary weekend, which to me is like, then what's the point?
Do it all the time.
Then what's the point of the criteria?
Right.
And then again, to get humidity as low as, you know, the chart suggested, because I rewatched the video earlier today, as a matter of fact. You know, to get the humidity at such a specific level, especially in South Florida, is, I don't know.
But by the way, we might see the effects of what John was saying. We might, John Morales was saying, there might be more humidity and more condensation on the field. You might see players not getting a good footing, or the ball might skip around a bit more on the wet turf.
You know, the two contradicting things that I think about with the roof is that, one, they would save so much money if they had it open more. You know, they don't have to pay for the air condition a whole fucking ballpark. And then the other thing is they really don't need to keep it open either because of the, you know, the turf that they have. They don't need to have it open as much as they used to because it is artificial and the grass doesn't need sun. So the two things that they sort of contradict as to why you'd think it'd be more even, but there's almost no games when the roof is open.
Well, let's actually talk about the baseball now, because we only have 15 minutes left about this Marlins Brewers series preview. And the Brewers are good. They are a first place team, and they are coming in. I talked about the Marlins being relatively healthy on the injury front, and the Brewers are one of the few teams that have been even healthier. This is pretty close to the team that they envisioned coming into the season. And they have Yelich, as you see. You know, he's not at the MVP level he was a couple of years ago, but an 838 OPS in this run environment, when we know that games have been pretty low scoring, he's been better. And he's coming off a cycle, not just a cycle, his third cycle since he got traded to the Brewers.
It's insane.
Isn't that nuts?
And all three of them against the Cincinnati Reds, which is absolutely berserk.
How ironic would it be if on this championship weekend, and of course we know the Marlins history with cycles is a very short page, how ironic would it be if he did it in this series?
If he did it, I'd be so pissed. I hope a Marlins player does it. You know, that'd be even doper.
That'd be amazing, but I don't know. The over-under on that is probably pretty
Imagine if both Jazz and Yelich cycle in tonight's game.
Okay.
Mind blown.
You have such a great imagination, Noah.
I'm on a roll today. I'm on a roll today.
Yeah, Joe Versaro was going on about, I obviously know Marlins ever hit for the cycle. He was just sort of naming players that he, in the past, has thought maybe could do it. He mentioned Yelich. He mentioned Real Muto. He mentioned Hanley, I think. And now who else he could do it? He mentioned Jazz, of course. I told him, I was like, you know what? I think Brian Anderson is a guy that could conceivably do it one day. He's got the speed. He's got the power. He's a good hitter. He's someone that I'd look out for. And Jesus Sanchez is the other one who could possibly hit for the cycle one day.
Really, the headliner of this series is the pitching, especially in this first particular game. Reigning NL Cy Young Award winner Corbin Burns versus current NL ERA. Well, that's getting a little bit ahead of yourself. But Pablo is off to an incredible start. He's been the best performing Marlins pitcher to this point in the season, with no doubt about it. Just been incredibly, consistently excellent, and coming off pitching as well as ever. It doesn't seem fluky. He seems to really have been reached a higher level of performance than we've ever seen him at before. With this Marlins lineup, of course, Wendell not in there, but Brian Anderson back. And otherwise, there's a lot of familiar names that we've seen before. Jesus Aguilar coming off an off day, and Jazz still batting at the top of the order. Nothing really goofy going on around there. Aside from that, I mean, just the usuals that are in there coming off this recent trip against the Brewers. And then the rest of the series, who else do we have with these other probable pitchers? I think I have it somewhere as well.
Trevor and Eric Lauer tomorrow. Yeah. And then you have Eliezer Hernandez.
Brandon Woodruff,
who is not having the best season. He's not having that mid-2 ERA season that he had.
It's a battle of the over 5 ERAs.
He's someone that's struggling. And yes, he was actually mentioned in the MLB.com article of each team's player that needs to pick it up, and he was a Brewers representative in that article.
Yeah. So these next 3 games, a lot bigger for the Marlins than it feels like than for the Brewers, obviously, with the festivities going on, knowing that both the Panthers and the Heat still going strong in the postseason.
I was so pissed. You wanted both of them to lose, man.
Hogging a lot of attention. You need to. The only way to battle winning is by winning yourself. And so they sweep the series to get back up to 500. But at this point, you just got to think about taking one series at a time, one game at a time. Marlins entering today 14-17. And when I pulled it up, all of a sudden they are 11th out of 15 teams in the National League. So they're not that far away from a playoff spot, obviously. But just keep in mind, how many teams are ahead of them. And when you get off to a slow start, like they do every single year, the margin for error is just not that big.
Yeah, and especially when you look at the NL West, they could conceivably have 3 playoff teams. So there's 2 wildcard spots going away, and then the Brewers, the Central's gonna have maybe 2. Depends, how the Brewers and the other Cardinals do, and then in the East, it's another powerhouse. Obviously, the only team that's playing well in the East is the Mets, but Philly's gonna be better. Atlanta's gonna be better, and Miami would hopefully be better. So it's gonna be a tight crowd for the last wildcard spot because the Giants. The Padres are all going to be good.
Exactly. I was going to mention really quick the NL West. Every team in that division is over 500. So even the bottom team, the Rockies, are 1 game over 500. So that's just something to look out. How a whole division has just been so good. Then you look at the Marlins, you have to compete with all of those teams. And then that's even if they want to get a wild card spot.
Right. And it's at a year where the Mets have been pretty much as good as advertised. So they're pulling away, which means that you're, barring a miracle, they're probably settling for that wild card race and dealing with everybody else in that discussion. It's not like last year, where last year the NL East, everybody was kind of dragging each other down for a while until the Braves figured it out at the very end. It's a different story this year.
I'm surprised at how well the Mets are playing. I think they're playing better than advertised. It's crazy.
And without DeGrom.
And with Scherzer being okay, and you have Taijuan Walker pitching well, and not really pitching well, but he throwing 7 shutout last night. So,
and the wackiest double play I've ever seen.
So predictions.
Well, first a reminder about how the predictions have gone so far.
No, don't show it. I'm not used to being in the bottom of standings.
Look at this.
What the crust.
There's the leaderboard. It was a good series for Alex Carver, especially. Alex picked up the maximum 3 points with predicting the Diamondbacks to win 2 out of 3 and getting Alek Thomas as the MVP. I also had the D-backs winning 2 out of 3. And who was the other one? It was Daniel. Daniel got back into the race. Like, he was I think, in the trailing position, but he was appropriately pessimistic about this team and was able to to close the gap on the rest of us.
Oh man, this stinks. I really don't like seeing my name in the bottom of shit.
Now you can't see it anymore.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and so we had John on one show earlier this year, but I think he went over as well. So if he wants to like actually get some points,
Oh man,
there's a lot of pressure on him to do so right now. I think we'll go to Daniel first, just because he's at the ballpark, and I know it's going to get noisy there leading up to first pitch. So if he wants to get on the record with his, you picked how many games the Marlins are going to win in the series, and you pick your series MVP. We determine that based on win probability added. So guys that produce and also do it in important moments during the series. Go ahead, Daniel.
So I'm going to try and talk over this type's friend Mike B here. But I see the Marlins taking one game. This is going to be a difficult game. They're going to go up against their best. Even Brett Woodruff has been having his best year. He's still a top pitcher. He's still an all-star caliber pitcher. So I think they take one game. I think they take the middle game. And MVP, I think Christian Yelich is going to be the MVP. He's going to come in here, Miami swinging. He's coming off the cycle. I think Christian Yelich is going to put on the show for Miami and really show their front office what they missed out on again. But I think Christian Yelich MVP. Miami takes one game.
Did you pronounce it Yelich and then Yelich and then Yelich again? It's Yelich.
Christian Yelich is very handsome.
I'm
going to say that right there.
SOC, I'm with you on that.
This is the type of reporting you only get with credentialed coverage.
It's confirmed. My sources told me that. It's confirmed. It's confirmed.
No, I'm with you on that one, Daniel.
Give us yours, Isaac.
I was going to say one game, but there's going to be a little extra juice. I think that ninth inning in Arizona really did put a jolt into them. I know it's a little Debbie Downer that Joey Wendell goes down, but at the same time, Ryan Anderson comes up. I'm going to say 2 games. I'm going to go insane. I say they take 2. They're going to somehow win this game 2-1 or something.
After that, I can't wait to hear what Noah's going to say. Anyways, go ahead.
It's an anniversary weekend. Beautiful weather. I think there's a chance. And I'm going to say my MVP is Garrett Cooper.
Nice. Noah, your predictions.
So I was gonna go sweep, but
that's just
finish. But that's just stupid on my part. I think we do take 2 out of 3.
They take 2 out of 3.
They shut up. I think they win tonight. I think Pablo really just shows why he is the best pitcher on the staff. I think they lose Trevor's start tomorrow. And I think that battle of the over 5 ERAs turns into a 1-run game, like a low-scoring game all of a sudden, just because that just seems to be what happens. And I will finally end my losing streak in the press box, and they will finally win a game while I'm there.
Yeah, for people who haven't been following that storyline, Noah 0 for 4 doing credentials coverage this year. And that's been a problem because he's been going there a lot and he plans to be very available during the year. And so while that's nice for us, is that in the best interest of the team?
Yeah. I think I had a slightly winning record last season or maybe just below 500. And I covered a game with Noah and he brought my record to below 500. So thank you very much, Mr.
Right.
Burton.
And Kevin is complaining about the same bad luck infecting him when you guys were teamed up together.
All right.
Now going to our guest, John.
I didn't say my MVP. My apologies.
Well, we know what it's going to be. It's going to be Jazz.
No.
Oh?
It's not. It's going to be
Brian
Brian Anderson.
De La Cruz.
Brian Anderson.
Brian De La Cruz.
It's going to be Brian Anderson.
Brian Anderson. Okay. John, your series winner and MVP for this one.
I released a little checklist earlier today, listing down what I want, for today, especially a big day for the Panthers. Pretty decent day for the Marlins and their fans. I'm going for a win today. I think we need it as a fan base. We need it. I think we're going to take 2 of 3. I believe we take the first 2. I think we probably fall the second one by like 2 runs or something. It's gonna be like a hitter's fest that third game. My player of the series, I'm gonna go with. We paid $53 million for this guy. I'm gonna go Avi Garcia, former team in town, You're
All
going to
his
show
garbage
them
time home runs.
all his garbage time home runs. He's going to make them count right here, right now. He's going to make it count here at home. This is his series to prove it that he's worth that money, and he's
It is
starting
against
to
his former team.
show that up.
Former,
Yeah,
teammates with Christian Yelich last year.
and boom. I'm going to go Avi for this one.
That's right. Let's get yours, Alex.
I think they get swept.
Do you really want mine?
Yeah, and everybody is leaning in to get your sage advice after coming off your perfect series.
Yeah,
before.
right. Well, I don't think you guys are going to like my opinion on this one. I do think the Marlins get swept in this series, honestly. I think today they got their best shot. Trevor hasn't been great. Eliezer, I have zero confidence in to turn in a quality start anymore at all, unfortunately. And this is a great team that really is clicking. So, you know, they have a couple guys that are down, but I think you can ignore the batting averages. Like Adames is hitting 215. That's coming up. Right. So, you know, the top of this lineup hasn't been as good as it could be, and they look at what their record is. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's a big weekend for the Marlins with the guys back in town from '97 and everything. I think it's a disappointing series, honestly. I think they're going to get swept. Best chance would be tonight, I think. But yeah, I think they lose a close game tonight. Maybe a little closer one tomorrow, probably 2-3 runs, and then they're going to get. I
think there's no way that this team gets swept. I think Trevor tomorrow is a good shot at winning. This team, you know, their best hitters are lefties, and you have Trevor, who, if he gets out of the first, he should have a decent chance at getting deep.
I mean, their starter tomorrow, Lauer has
been phenomenal. He has been phenomenal. So, he has 42 guys in 29 innings or something. He's
right, and you got Burns tonight. It just matches up really bad for the Marlins. I really don't like how this matches up. MVP, I know you got to go on MVP. Let's go with Luis Urias, MVP. He's a 286 career hitter against the Marlins. I think all of them are singles until now. He got a late start to the year. I know he was rehabbing in AAA, but I think that's a guy that you could look at the middle of the lineup.
He's not even starting tonight.
I think he is. Right
Urias or Luis Urias? Oh,
did I say Urias or Urias?
Yeah, you're like, okay. I thought you were talking about
that guy. The guy's last name that starts with a U. Sorry,
Luis Urias, like Julio Urias.
Okay, so Kevin has been patiently and loyally watching along to see his prediction come to life on the screen. He recorded a video of his prediction. Check it out.
Marlins versus Brewers, prediction time. This one's hard because Milwaukee is a very good team. They have a nice offense. Christian Yelich is in there. I'm definitely missing some names. I know they have a good catcher, but they have some immense pitching, incredible pitching. You could even argue at some points it's better than Miami's. You know, you have Brandon Woodruff, Corbin Burns is in there, that bottom part. But the three guys we'll be seeing, Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff for the third game, and I think Launder for the second game. He has a 1-point-something ERA. So, you know, game one, I'm going to go with Milwaukee here for game one. Yeah, game two, I think Miami will take it. Trevor, I think, is going to have a bounce-back start. Even better than the one before. So, yeah, in game three, Brandon Woodruff has been a little bit off. So I'm going to go with Brewers in game three, taking the Sunday game, where I think Miami will definitely do well. And, you know, you guys probably didn't talk about this, but in the alumni softball game, I have Livan Hernandez hitting 2 bombs. That's fair, 2 bombs. And the series MVP. That one's difficult, but I am going to go on a limb, and I am going to go with... No, I'm going to use the right choice. Jazz Chisholm Jr.
What was that?
Kevin, what the heck?
Jesus fuck,
It took
man.
like 10 minutes for that.
He literally had no time limit, and he decided to do it all. Did he prepare for it?
No, the
What
original
did I miss?
video was a lot longer than that. I cut off 40 seconds at the start and at the end.
We're gonna need a video editor.
Kevin talked throughout the entire national anthem. The entire
There
time
was
to get
40
to that.
more seconds to that? Holy shit.
Yeah, so in the interest of time, I'll get my predictions out there
Oh my
pretty
goodness.
quickly. I had the Marlins losing 2 out of 3, only winning 1 in this series. Series MVP, you mentioned him just a few minutes ago, Eric Lauer. He has had a
Hey,
big
Greg.
breakout performance this year. Maybe Craig has a prediction while he's on here. Of course.
What's the rules here? Tell me again. Series prediction and MVP. Series prediction. I'm gonna
That's right.
Win probability added.
I think yeah.
Oh, really?
I'm gonna go route it to left.
Ooh, good call.
He's having a great year, and all it takes is
He's
a
gonna
one or
homer
two
off
swings.
Eliezer.
Can't hear him.
So great appearance from Craig. We could barely hear him, but we got the series prediction and we got the MVP, and that's all it takes. Thank you, Craig. Have a great day. No, that's it. That's it. We're gonna wrap up, but we'll have you. We'll keep, that's an official prediction, though, so we're gonna hold you to that, and we're gonna look at the results later on. I'm saying we're holding you to that official prediction.
Wait.
That's right. Alex is the pessimist. But most of us have them winning the series, with the exception of being in the middle. We'll have Craig on the stream when he has normal mic circumstances so that we can actually hear him and he can actually hear us. But otherwise, I guess we're going to wrap it up right here.
I have no idea. Is it on?
So this has been Fish Stripes Live, as always, presented by Loop. Prior to every series, you can catch us right here.
We hear you now. We hear you now. We hear you now.
Ah.
All right. You caught us right at the end, Mr. Craig.
We're at
What are you guys doing? Anything?
Close it out, Eli.
Close it out.
We're gonna close it out right here. Thanks to everybody for tuning in.
You're gonna close it out.
We have Max Meyer breaking news.
Oh,
All right, guys, you're doing a great job. I just want to say thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for the support, Craig. Thank you.
Hopefully they win one game. Maybe two. Maybe two. Sunday's a loss, so we got to win one of the next two.
From Craig Mish, Daniel Rodriguez, John Rodriguez, Isaac Azut, Noah Berger, Alex Carver, I'm Eli Sussman here on Fish Stripes Live. We'll be back again on Monday. Plenty of coverage in between on fishstripes.com. Go fish!
Why bother with empty shelves at retail stores, waiting 3 days for a break to fill, or driving across town to find out your hobby shop closed at 4 when you always have a card show in your pocket? With Loop, you can instantly buy cards, packs, boxes, or into auctions with the click of a button, and do it all while chatting with some of the best personalities and the best community in the hobby. Download the Loop app now on iOS or Android. Loop, a card show in your